Cypress Cloud has always had nice features when it comes to running your Cypress tests from the CI, but now they've just kicked it up a notch with test replays, so let's take a look. To get started, head on over to cloud.cypress.io, and you don't need to pay anything, no credit card required. You can even use the free account, which is what I'm doing over here, and I'm going to be testing this new platform that I'm building called Boolean Art. The only thing that we need is some organization information, which again is all optional, but once this organization is set up, head on over to your local code project to set up Cypress locally. And you set it up the same way that you might already be familiar with, which is simply install the Cypress package and then execute it, and then it will pretty much guide you through the entire setup process. Once the installation is complete, let's set up a simple script within our package.json to execute the Cypress tests. And now that we have this simple Cypress open script added, we open up the terminal and execute npm run cypress. This executes cypress open. And because it is executing the first time, it's going to figure out the fact that nothing is configured. And if we select our journey, for example, we are going to be doing end-to-end testing, it will configure everything that is required for that process. Now we can start testing using Chrome, which is the only browser that I have locally installed right now. And right now there are no specs, so I will choose to create a new spec, and I will call this spec subscribe.sci.ts. And to ensure that everything has been set up correctly, I will run this example spec. Of course, it passes with flying colors as you would expect, as it is a simple visit call. I'm going to open this up within my IDE, and of course the IDE I'm going to be using is Visual Studio Code, and then remove whatever is there and add more specific code to test my new training platform. The thing that I'm trying to test is that the email subscription flow does not get broken. So on localhost 3000, there should be an email field where the user can type some stuff, and there should be a submit button that should be visible. Similarly, there should be an email confirmation screen which should show the text almost there, and finally an email confirmed screen where the user is presented with a nice thank you message. Of course, there's a lot more that I would want to do over here, but building the full test suite is not the focus of this particular lesson. Now this spec has already been run by Cypress in the background, but let's just run it again to make sure that everything is in order. And as you can see, Cypress runs through these tests blazingly fast. Now that we have the tests running locally, let's set them up to push the results to the cloud so that we can objectively measure their performance and quality over time. There are a few ways to do this, but the way that I recommend is going over to the settings section within the Cypress test runner and then expand Cypress Cloud settings. Here you can connect this project to the Cypress Cloud. First, you will be prompted to log in. Go ahead and log in, and once you are done, you can connect a Cypress Cloud project to this particular code base. The way Cypress Cloud works is that we have organizations, and then within organizations we have projects. We've already created our organization, but we didn't actually create a project, and we can do that directly from within the Cypress test runner. Within the organization Boolean Art, we are creating a project called Boolean Art, and we are keeping it private because this is a private project. Once we create the project is created for us within the Cypress Cloud, and a project essentially consists of two things. The first is a project ID, and there should be no worry about this particular value leaking out. It's simply the ID of the project within your organization. The second is the record key, and this is something that should only be given to people that you want to be able to push test results to your cloud project. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard because I'm going to be using this pretty soon. Cypress has also modified my Cypress config for me to point to the project ID, and of course I'm going to commit this and push this over to GitHub. Pushing to the Cypress Cloud will be done using GitHub Actions. That way, every time a commit is made on our main branch by anyone within our team, the Cypress tests will run and push any relevant debugging and performance information over to the cloud. Fortunately for us, Cypress provides this GitHub action under cypress-io/GitHub action, which makes running Cypress tests within GitHub Actions extremely easy. Within our project, we create a new workflow called cypress.yaml under .github/workflows. This workflow will be called Cypress, and we want this to run on any push to the main branch. And within the jobs, we have a single one called Cypress run, which will run on Ubuntu latest, which is the most resource-effective runner available within GitHub Actions. This job will have a few steps. The first one will be checkout, which is simply going to use actions/checkout, which is provided by GitHub. And the next one is going to be Cypress run, which is actually provided by Cypress.io. Here we are using Cypress.io/GitHub action, which is what we just saw. And we are providing some options, which is record true, so that it will record its results to the Cypress cloud. And then we are providing a start command, which is npm run dev, to make sure that our local development environment starts executing before Cypress runs its tests. And then we also need to provide two environment variables. The first one is GitHub token, which is natively provided by GitHub Actions, and this allows Cypress to correctly determine builds versus rebuilds. And then the second environment variable is the Cypress record key, which is what Cypress will use to push the results over to the cloud. This is the key that we copied from within our project settings. We need to provide this to the GitHub Actions, which we can do from within our project settings. We add a new secret, Cypress record key, and then paste in the value that I have within my clipboard. With the secret added within GitHub Actions, we can now push this GitHub action workflow over to GitHub. Now any commits to the main branch will kick off a new build of the Cypress workflow, and as you can see, it is executing right now, and once it completes, we get this nice summary panel at the bottom that gives us a direct link to this particular run within the Cypress cloud. Even if this is your first time experiencing the Cypress cloud, it's pretty intuitive. You can jump into the test results and you can see there are 3 tests passed successfully. And if I select one of these tests, you can see the feature that I want to highlight, which is test replay, which just adds more value on top of everything else that was already there. I can essentially replay the entire test run the same way that I would be able to do within my local development environment. I have the test steps available on the left, I have a nice replay bar at the bottom, I have the network calls on the right, and I can even open up the developer tools and inspect what my DOM looked like when that test was running, just like I can do it locally within the Cypress test runner. For example, here I can see what my simple input element looked like within the DOM. In order to use test replays, you need to be on Cypress 13 and above, and you need to use the Cypress cloud. But as you saw, you can get started with the cloud for free. As always, thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.